liked, Ray, was I mentioned that, say, if you have a restaurant that has a waiting area, unfortunately, sometimes you have to go in there and wait, right? But if you're sitting there waiting and the loop could play, in the background, and it's all promotion. It's selling the whole time.
My chiropractor does that in his lobby. So what he does is he's got tips, he's got links to his website of the latest article he wrote, he has infographic type things, and they just cycle through a little bit. And you know what I saw, Randy, the other day? I saw a Bank of America sponsored commercial paying a YouTube cooking host for a 15-second slot on Hulu. So
Whoa.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so here's some of this idea. This guy has gone out, he's done his work, he's put his content together in his unique way to reach his audience. And then through whatever means, there became an opportunity for a relationship there with Bank of America, and Bank of America is paying him. And it even says paid something or other when they put his name across the bottom of the screen. So Bank of America is saying, we're part of your life and we think this matters. Here's a quick tip for you to make your life easier, kind of thing. And they're using food.
And look, they just got social media at its very best because you mentioned it now.
My previous dentist in the town I've just moved away from did that same thing in his lobby, which was always disturbing because he had it on a 70-inch screen, and those lobbies are usually pretty small, but it was.
They are.
And he was constantly, he was constantly selling you on crowns, on Invisalign, teeth straighteners,
toothpaste, whatever, yeah,
and various, and then it was like 4 sales and then 1 dental health thing, constantly. Right. But he had, and I mean, it was like Crest and things like that they were buying sponsorships or paying for it or something like that.
Well, I'm going to pass that along to my dentist because I'm in my dentist chair. He's got a screen on top, but all it shows is very graphic images of what they're doing, so like putting a post in your gum or whatever, and it's like the most disgusting thing. So I'm going to suggest, Jess, that you write blogs and put those up there.
And by the way, my chiropractor also uses video. Yeah. He stands in his office in front of an X-ray, and he talks about something, and he only makes them available to his practice members. So I get emails with little tidbits about how this is helping and what to expect and what my body might be doing and how I can support my learning, by the way. So he's a fantastic marketer. His name is Danny Knowles. And what did he do? I think he used something like this. This is for those of us who aren't psychology majors, we don't know a lot about how the brain works. We just know when we emotionally respond to things, but we might not know how to elicit said emotion to make these connections. I participated in a program once upon a time called Bank, and it's not a personality test, because a personality test tells you how that person interacts with the world. This is specifically related to their emotional buying connection. What do they want to know? Do they only want logic? Do they want to know how to take action? Do they care about the greater community, or do they just need proven results and facts? And if you can incorporate some things from each one of these into your marketing, you'll be able to find out the demographic, a little bit more information about the audience that you have, so that you can tailor more. So if you have mostly in this world green people, what they need, add a little bit more of that because you'll attract more. You already have this audience. And the same with the yellow or the red or the blue. It is phenomenal. And I have these cards and I take them with me to client meetings and I ask people to do this. You guys have all done this with me. I have yours in my notes of what you chose. So food for thought there, finding something that helps you define quickly what do people identify with and what they have, so you know how to talk to them. That's not manipulation. That's closing the gap between where they're at and where you're at to have a meaningful conversation that would allow support to occur.
Yes,
value to be given.
Put a different way, Jess, what you're saying is that you're showing enough respect of your intended audience to know what type of person they are. And the same appeal, emotional appeal even, isn't going to appeal to everyone. It's going to be very specific. So you're going the extra mile by trying to figure out, is this person, red or green or blue or
Well, it's as Jess said in the show. It's about empathy, right? It's about knowing, listening, and all that. And I think Jess, I mean, that was an excellent point you make. And I just want to do a bit of a very quick plug for David Amerlin's new book, Trust, because he goes into exactly what you're saying, Jess, into the psychology of buying, of building trust. You leaving, Scott? You leaving, Jess?
Oh, I was waving to him. I've got to leave in about 3 minutes. Yeah.
Okay. So we got an open seat. Everybody, let's jump in.
Come on,
I haven't been on Blab for a bit, so there's a couple of changes I've noticed. First of all, the tell you're on, which I think is kind of cute for the Facebook thing. Next, the questions now are on the left-hand side. So if you have a question, I imagine you leave them there. And yeah, so it's very cool. So who we have? Hey, Manny.
Manny. Woo!
You got some strange sound coming, Manny.
Brother from another mother? Is that it? Okay, hold on, Manny. You sound like
you're sounding very bizarre, man. that was weird. Okay, let's try this again. Let's try Manny again.
Is that better?
Oh, much better.
Okay,
got rid of that Mickey Mouse.
Channeling my inner chipmunk.
Yeah, that was it.
I thought I was expecting the theme from Close Encounters to start. You know? So how's it going, Manny?
It's going pretty good. How you doing, Ray?
Fine. I'm
good.
Fine.
Hey, Jay.
We had a great show. I don't know if you know what we were talking about. The topic today is about making emotional connections with your audience, with your clients, and how important that is. And we had talked about big companies versus small companies. And how do you feel about that topic? I mean, how do you think? Do you think it is important to make that connection?
I think it's the most important thing out there, because at the end of the day, anytime someone's buying a product, what they're trying to do is, to use the cycle lingo, they're looking for symbolic self-completion. We're walking around and we have something inside us that we're trying to express. We walk into a car dealership, we pick that car, we walk up in the store, we look at all the different sodas and we're grabbing a soda, we're looking for a card for our wives or whatever, a piece of music that we're listening to. Everything you're doing is essentially trying to create, to show the world some element that you have inside of you. You know, that's why there's always a joke about the guy with the huge truck overcompensating, you know, to use sort of a glaring one. And even the example that you mentioned earlier on the show about the cigarettes, that was like when Bernays came up with that, it was a latent phallic threat, obviously. You know?
See, I didn't get. Oh, I don't know where your head's at. But I didn't get that at all.
That's what he meant. Bernays was he was Freud's nephew.
Yes, yeah.
So
when I saw that,
systematically engineered. The whole concept was, here's this item. We don't need a man. We've got one of our own.
Cool.
That's where they were headed with it. And a lot of the purchasing that happens is emotionally, we look for biological things. So if you put two big eyes on something, like I think it was the Mini Cooper, then suddenly it's cute. You know,
anything with the face.
Manny, can you take that down? I mean, what we always revert to talking about big brands, automobiles, cigarettes, things like that. Can you take that down? What you're sharing with us to a small, regional, or local, operation, and how they might build that affinity and use something from your experience?
Absolutely. When you're putting out a signal, anything that you touch, if you touch it with the right intention, with the right passion, with the right clarity of presence, and you put it out there, if you put love into it, if you put rage into it, whatever you put into it, that communicates across the medium. If a person has enough empathy for you that they have a shared narrative with you. So
it's intention.
Yeah, clarity of intention. So if I'm in a community and I have a small restaurant and I've created a narrative in the community where the scent of cinnamon reminds everyone, well, I'll go even easier. Pumpkin spice. They've done it amazingly. I'll use the season. So if I wanted to do a meme jack emotionally in a community, all I would have to do is have a short video where I'm talking about cinnamon spice and whatever, and say, if you happen to know that I have a great cherry broth or a cherry syrup that we sell at our restaurant that goes great on the ice cream or on the cake, when you come by, I remind you of that, and I connect it to the pumpkin spice, you see the pumpkin spice, you realize that I recognize your signal. You know, you're like, hey, he knows my Halloween story. He knows what mood I'm in. And companies do that all the time, where they add their element, they meme check it, they add their element into the emotional space.
Could you use the word manipulation in that, Manny? This is a conversation we had in the green room before the hangout thing. I just want your take on that. Yeah,
it's manipulation based on intention. The best example I like to use is when you have a big company like McDonald's, who is speaking the language of the community, but at the end of the day, the money is being funneled out of the community. Or a Walmart, which originally had, they were a co-op. That was their original branding. And they're sending signals, co-op signals initially, and people have passed the trust through the community and they're woven into the narrative, but now the money is being funneled out. So what you want is, it's manipulation when the signals you're sending are dishonest. When BP is signaling eco-friendly with eco-friendly colors and eco-friendly messaging and then pouring oil into the ocean, you know, that's manipulation. If you're speaking to the community and you empathize with the community, and the community in turn is looking at you as what they call a condensation symbol, as a symbol of their message getting out there. You know, if you're a musician and people buying up your stuff because the more they see you succeed, like Taylor Swift, she's really good at this. The more they see you succeed, the more they see the message succeeding. Emotionally, they're symbolically completing. So if we have a local bakery, and that local bakery has a narrative where their 50% of sales starting this week are going towards someone in the community's, the Boy Scout troop. Emotionally now, that feels good. People are buying more cookies than they had intended to do. And even after we're done paying for the Boy Scout troop event, supporting that bakery continues to symbolically mean that to me. Now, if that bakery gets bought out by a big company now, and mom and pop drop by sometimes, and that money is now being funneled out of the community, so that the community overall is putting their energy, their emotional energy into that thing. They're working there for generations, and then the company is emotionally not invested anymore. That's manipulation. It's the misdirection.
Anheuser-Busch and InBev did that in St. Louis. I mean, when the Bush family sold Anheuser, happened.
I'm getting an echo. That's bizarre. I was going to ask how much. We talked about, you know, when we first social media had just happened, it was like this opportunity to reach everybody. And so everybody was very cautious not to offend anybody because they didn't, you know, they want to appeal to the widest possible cross-section of people. But I think we're learning now that it's better to build a network and a tribe around you and be more authentic about yourself, and chance that you may offend somebody, but they may not be who you want to target your market to anyway. And I think that may be an advantage for smaller brands than the bigger companies. That's where I think smaller companies can get a leg up on the larger ones, because they can really target minutely who they want as their clients. Do you agree? Because I found myself in that situation, and when I first started, I was really, really beige. You know, I mean, I was careful not to go anywhere that's too, you know, controversial. But now I really don't give it, you know, Dan. You know, yeah. I was going to say something.
I think if they're signaling honestly, if it's honest signaling, because at the end of the day, what you're doing is aligning values. If and you'll see a lot of this. Well, in the presidential campaigns, they're using a lot of identity marketing, where a bunch of people are sitting here getting thoroughly offended by Trump, but he's rising in the ranks because the more he's standing his ground and doing the specific things that his archetypal target would do, the more they're like, yeah, take that, you know? And we're sitting there like, once